All right, everyone talks about this blue wave supposedly coming. That still might come for the House of Representatives and the Democrats taking over that body. Not so the Senate, where it's very likely, in fact, strongly possible that Republicans add to their gains here. And this fellow might have a thing or two to do with it. Jim Renacci, of course, the big winner last night, the Ohio congressman, who is now going to be the Ohio Senate Republican nominee to take on Sherrod Brown. He joins us right now. Sir, congratulations.
Thank you, Neil, and thanks for having me on.
You had a crowded field, and you beat them all. It helped that the president liked you and, endorsed you, was with you, pointed to you. It turns out that the candidates that he preferred, especially those he didn't, fell in line. The ones he didn't like in other states like West Virginia didn't do well. The ones he did tended to do well. Do you think you would have won without Donald Trump?
Well, look, one thing I can tell you is the president is very much liked in Ohio. I'm on the Ways and Means Committee. He knows that. We helped him get the tax bill and jobs bill, tax cut and jobs bill done. So that's resonating in Ohio, and I think it came out pretty strong. Over 200,000 more Republicans came out and voted yesterday than Democrats. So there's no blue wave in Ohio. There's clearly a red wave coming, and I'm happy to have the president with me, but I'm also happy to be a supporter of his. Being a businessman for almost 3 decades, I think in many ways he and I think a lot alike because we think about the way businesses operate.
There was a good deal of money spent in your race, most of the races that included those who ultimately won. And I'm wondering if you're going to have to up the ante even all the more going into the fall. A lot of outside money, for example, came into races, not so much in your specific one. But it's certainly in the gubernatorial race, we were seeing signs of that, not only in your state but elsewhere, that there is a wave of money on both sides, usually and oftentimes outside, that's coming in. What do you make of that?
Well, look, Ohio is an important state. I think people know that, and people want to say it's a blue state, a red state. I've always said it's a purple state rolling toward a red state, and I think in the end, both sides are trying to move that dial, and that's why there's money coming in, really. But in the end, I think this is about Ohioans, and they want to move the economy forward. It's about jobs and the economy, and the opioid issue is a big issue there, too. That's what they're looking for. They're looking for those kind of candidates, and I'm going to continue to see that. So I think in the end, Ohio is always going to be a pivotal state, not only in 18, but also in 20.
I don't know your relationship with outgoing Governor John Kasich, limited by 2 terms. There is talk that he would be interested in challenging President Trump for the Republican nomination. What do you think of that?
Well, look, I'm hoping that we wait and see what this president does. As I've said all along, there are some that, like Governor Kasich, who doesn't really show a lot of support for the president. But in the end, I like what the president's doing. Ohio likes what the president's doing. And I'm hoping in the end we can continue to move forward, get Ohio moving in the right direction, and then make some decisions based on the accomplishments, which already we've had a lot of accomplishments, not only the tax cut bill, but the regulatory climate being eliminated. Ohioans are starting to see that. They're seeing money in their paychecks. So I think in the end that's going to be the key. And I hope we just continue to move this forward, and President Trump will be easily reelected in 2020.
Do you want the president to campaign for you?
Well, in the end, look, Ohio is a state where the president is well-liked. I've said that all along. He's well-liked by Republicans. He's got a, depending on what poll you're looking at, a 55, 56, 57% approval rating in Ohio. So absolutely, it's always good to have the president on your side, and I'm happy to have him with me. But again, I always say that because I'm a business guy, he's a business guy. We think a lot alike when it comes to business and moving things forward.
Congressman, what do you make of what looks like a disconnect between what potentially could happen in the Senate, where Republicans could gain, and in the House, where everyone talks up this blue wave? It would seem to me that voters are looking at pretty much the same environment, no matter where they are. So why is it far more problematic for Republicans in the House than in races like yours? Now, I'm not saying you've got it won yet and all, but you have certainly better odds than is deemed to be your counterparts in the House.
Well, look, I think in the end there's frustration back home. There's frustration in this country because they see Congress not moving things forward. But what they have to recognize is it's not the House. The House has passed over 500 bills. The Senate has held about 400-plus bills over there. Can't get things moving because they need more Republicans there to move the ball forward. And I think that's why there's a big push. So let's get the majority bigger in the Senate. So some of these bills that the House are passing can move forward. then I think you'll see the American people saying, hey, the House and the Senate are working. Today there's a problem, and it's in the Senate.
If you got to the Senate, would you vote to make Mitch McConnell your leader?
Well, again, I think Mitch McConnell has a tough job. When you're talking about needing 60 votes to get something done, it's going to be tough for who's ever the leader. So I'm going to do whatever I can to make sure when I get there that we're looking at ways to be able to move legislation forward. I'm even a big believer that we probably got to get back to what the Constitution says, 51 votes versus 60.
Well, he doesn't seem open to doing that. When I talk to him, he's not keen on removing that.
Yeah, I know, and there's a lot of senators over there that aren't, and there were a lot of senators that were in the House with me who went to the Senate and now aren't either. But I think in the end, we've got to be able to move things forward in the Senate.
All right. Congressman, again, congratulations. Jim Renacci, of course, will be challenging incumbent Senator Sherrod Brown. We put out a call to the senator's office, as we do all the time, to the prospective opponents, everybody in the race. They declined.